Ashley, it's Julia, the ex-English major, and thank you so much for clicking on another video. So today I will be doing a reading wrap-up for the month of December. This month I had a crazy reading month. I read a total of 16 books this month. That is going to be atypical, so do not expect to see that many books every single month. This month I happen to go on vacation, and I am somebody who, when I'm on vacation, I am a bit of a nervous flyer. That's a little bit of an understatement. So I am one of those people who beforehand, I like to have everything packed and ready as early as possible. And I am trying to get to the airport with at least 3 hours to spare, which means that there is a lot of time for me to be reading. So on months that I am out of town, going on airplanes, what have you, those will be the months that you will see a much higher than average number of books. So what you can expect for my reading wrap-ups is I will give you a basic overview of the books. I do not like to get into too many spoilers because I don't want to ruin the reading experience for you. And I also don't do star ratings. I am somebody who, my taste varies quite a bit, and so what I'm looking for in a book varies quite a bit. I just won't get into any sort of star rating. And then also for these wrap-ups, like I said, I had quite a few books, 16 books this month. I will not be counting any sort of fan fiction in that reading wrap-up. So pretty much in any given month, you can expect that I am reading at least one, but the exact number and what they are called is none of your business. That's between me and my Kindle. So the very first book that I read this month is called Wild Reverence by Rebecca Ross. So I will read you a quick summary of it. This is just the blurb on the back of the book. Born in the firelit domain of the Underrealm, Matilda is the youngest goddess of her clan. Blessed with humble messenger magic, she uses to carry words and letters through the realms. But the gods will kill for power, and Matilda holds a secret she must hide from even her dearest allies. And there is a mortal who dreams of her, though they have never met in the waking world. 10 years ago, Vincent of Becket wrote to Matilda on the darkest day of his life, begging the goddess he befriended in dreams to help him. His request went unanswered, and Vincent becomes a hardened, irreverent lord of the river who has long forgotten Matilda, until she comes tumbling into his bedroom window with a letter for him. Matilda and Vincent were fated to find each other beyond dreams. But to rewrite the blood-soaked ways of the gods, Matilda will have to face something she fears even more than losing her magic, finally allowing herself to be loved. This is a fantasy, romance, adult fiction. I thought it was really good. I really, really liked it. Again, this was the first book that I read in December. And I thought it was just a great way to kick off the month. I know it takes place in the Divine Rivals universe. I have not read Divine Rivals. I'm debating whether or not I want to get into Divine Rivals, but I really, really liked Wild Reverence. I'm a sucker for any sort of interesting magic system. And here in this book, we had a lot of political intrigue happening between the gods. There are essentially 3 separate realms in this world. You have the middle, which is essentially like the mortal realm, but then there are 2 different realms for the gods. You've got gods who are below the earth, and you've got gods who are in the sky. And so we are following Matilda, who is born below the earth, but it's very clear that even though she doesn't know who her father is, he is not one of the gods below the earth. I really, really liked this book, and that is Wild Reverence by Rebecca Ross. Coming off strong right off of that, I read The River Has Roots by Amal El-Motar. This book is by one of the 2 co-authors of one of my favorite books back behind me, This Is How You Lose the Time War. If you haven't read This Is How You Lose the Time War, highly recommend. But this one, honestly, I might have liked this one even better, which is crazy to say. But let me go ahead and get into the summary. Oh, what is stronger than a death? 2 sisters singing with one breath. In the small town of Thistleford, on the edge of Fairy, dwells the mysterious Hawthorne family. There, they tend and harvest the enchanted willows and honor an ancient compact to sing to them and thanks for their magic. none more devotedly than the family's latest daughters, Esther and Isabel, who cherish each other as much as they cherished the ancient trees. But when Esther rejects a forceful suitor in favor of a lover from the land of fairy, not only the sisters' bond, but also their lives will be at risk. This book was fantastic. This was probably one of my favorite reads of the month. This book, I like that. Yes, it is a romance story, but the main love in this story is between these two sisters. And I thought that this book was written fantastically. You can tell that the author has at least one sister that she is really, really close to. I have a younger sister myself. She's barely younger than me, 13 months apart. I can barely say I'm older sister, and we're kind of seeing the same type of thing happening here with the sisters in this story. And the author, you can tell, has a sister, because there is just this kind of thing where in one page they're going from bickering and really just judging each other's life choices to immediately like, I would die for you. Nobody else can fight with my sister. That's my sister. I'm the only one who gets to hurt her and make fun of her. And I don't know. I really, really liked it. It was very good. It's very short. And it's one of those stories too where you just kind of have to take it and accept it. So there is a lot of really interesting lyrical, poetic type things happening. There is a plot. I don't want to say there's no plot, but it's very short. It's bordering on a novella. The magic system is called grammar, which is another really cool thing that I like. So, instead of using magic to transform, you are using grammar to conjugate, which feels like it was just written right up for me. But so essentially, it's a story about these two sisters who are tending to these magical willows, and what is happening though these two sisters have decided that they are going to live their lives with each other forever. When one of them starts falling in love with a fae creature, can take over various bodies of different things, and her sister wants her to accept the hand in marriage of a local person in the town. And so it's about the two of them and their lives on the edge of fairy. So yeah, fantastic, fantastic book. Highly recommend. That is The River Has Roots. The next one, huge right turn. So we went from these two kind of lyrical, romantic, fantasy type books. And then the next one I read was How High We Go in the Dark by Sequoia Nagamatsu. So this is a science fiction story. It's told in short little segments. So you are following this disease over the course of its life. So I will go ahead and read the description here. It says, Dr. Cliff Mayashiru arrives in the Arctic Circle to continue his recently deceased daughter's research, only to discover a virus newly unearthed from the melting permafrost. The plague unleashed reshapes life on Earth for generations. Yet, even while struggling to counter this destructive force, humanity stubbornly persists in a myriad of moving and ever-inventive ways. Among those adjusting to this new normal are an aspiring comedian employed by a theme park designed for terminally ill children who falls in love with a mother trying desperately to keep her son alive. A scientist, having failed to save his own son from the plague, gets a second chance at fatherhood when one of his test subjects, a pig, develops human speech. A man who, after recovering from his own coma, plans a block party for his neighbors who have also woken up to find that they are alone, having survived their families. A widowed painter and her teenage granddaughter must set off on a cosmic quest to locate a new home planet. From funerary skyscrapers to hotels for the dead, How High We Go in the Dark follows a cast of intricately linked characters spanning hundreds of years as humanity endeavors to restore the delicate balance of the world. This is a story of unshakable hope that crosses literary lines to give us a world rebuilding itself in an endless capacity of love, resilience, and reinvention. Wonderful and disquieting, dreamlike, and all too possible. So this is a science fiction dystopian type story. And like I mentioned earlier, this is essentially a story following a plague. It definitely hits home in a post-COVID world, but it is essentially from the birth of finding this plague, and then what happens to humanity as this plague ravages through the world, essentially, and how humanity splinters and tries to adjust to this new normal. You're dealing with a world that is rocked by this huge disease. And so what kind of happens to humanity as they learn to cope with this? It is definitely, it's a rough read. I will mention that it's a heavy read. It was really, really good. I do not know if this will be something that I will be rereading anytime soon, simply because it is pretty heavy. But I would definitely recommend it, especially if you are somebody who is interested in little tiny pockets of various characters' lives. This book takes place over a long period of time. And so you are getting these little snapshots of humanity as they are dealing with these things. And every once in a while, you will have a character who is tangentially related to something that happened in a previous chapter. It's more interconnected than it would seem. So it's definitely, there are really, really heartbreaking pieces and there are really, really beautiful pieces. And if you are interested in kind of a science fiction element, there is that too. This disease may have an effect beyond even just Earth. So it is a very, very interesting read. Would definitely recommend, but definitely know yourself before going into it and know that it is a heavy book. But that is How High We Go in the Dark. After that, I picked up The Will of the Many by James Islington. This book is extremely popular. I'm sure that if you are watching this, this is not the first time that you have heard of The Will of the Many. It is definitely very popular, especially because the sequel just came out. For this one, this is my first read through. I had not read it before. And I will be continuing with the sequel. I am just waiting until either it is available at my library or until I can get my hands on a paperback, since I am one of those people who much prefer a paperback to a hardcover. But let me go ahead and hop on into the summary here. It says, the Catanian Republic, the hierarchy, may rule the world now, but they do not know everything. I tell them my name is Vis Telemus. I tell them that I was orphaned after a tragic accident 3 years ago, and that good fortune alone has led to my acceptance into their most prestigious school. I tell them that once I graduate, I will gladly join the rest of civilized society, allowing my strength, my drive, my focus, what they call will, to be leached away and added to the power of those above me, as millions already do, as all must eventually do. I tell them that I belong, and they believe me. But the truth is that I have been sent to the academy to find answers, to solve a murder, to search for an ancient weapon, to uncover secrets that may tear the Republic apart. That, and I will never, ever cede my will to the empire that executed my family. To survive, though, I will have to rise through the academy's ranks. I will have to smile and make friends and pretend to be one of them and win. Because if I cannot, then those who want to control me, want to know my real name, will no longer have any use for me. And if the hierarchy finds out who I truly am, they will kill me. So The Will of the Many is a story that is following this young man. His name is Vis, or that's what he goes by. And he is essentially in this world where we have essentially what is like a pyramid scheme. It's where people are ceding their will, their power, their focus, their life force to those in the step above them in the hierarchy. So everyone who has power, there's level 8s, and then they seed up to 7s, who seed up to 6s, who go higher and higher. And every step above you, essentially, you have exponentially more power than those below you because you are taking their life force. And so they have more mental faculties, they have more strength, more power. And then also the will is how you are powering things in the society as well, like technological advances. They have these really cool, almost like flying trains, spaceship type things. Very, very interesting. That is also being powered by will, that is being seeded or essentially forcibly taken from those below. And so Vis is opposed to ceding his will, and he will do whatever he can to avoid ceding his will and being a part of that system, a part of that structure. He is recruited to be a part of this academy by those who are interested in trying to find out the secrets of this academy. And one of the benefits of being in the academy is that they are barred from ceding their will or absorbing their will. So while he is in this academy, he essentially has a loophole where he will not be forced to cede any of his power. So again, I liked this book. The Will of the Many reminded me a lot in places of Ender's Game, which was one of my favorite books when I was in late middle school, maybe early high school, was when I read that one. And so, yeah, it had a lot of, in my mind, some similarities to it, especially with kind of this academic strategy type academy where you are trying to uncover secrets and things of that nature. Definitely really enjoyed that. So that was The Will of the Many by James Islington. After that, the very next book that I picked up was We Who Will Die by, I believe it's Stasia Stark. It could be Stasia, it could be Stacia. Correct me in the comments here if I am mispronouncing that name or any of the names. But the next book I picked up is essentially a big shift over into We Who Will Die, which is a fantasy romance gladiator vampire book. That was honestly the exact type of thing that I wanted to pick up after The Will of the Many. After How High We Go in the Dark, I had been reading some of these heady books, and so getting to pick up a book that, though it may not have been my absolute favorite book, it was a blast to read, and it was exactly what the doctor ordered. The summary for We Who Will Die. Life in the perilous Thorn district is a constant battle for Arvel and her younger brothers, and the vampire standing on her doorstep is about to turn their world upside down. Faced with an unthinkable choice, Arvel makes a magically binding vow to do the impossible: kill the Emperor, an ancient vampire who is created by the god Umbros. But first, she must enter the Sundering, an arena where only the fastest, strongest, and deadliest survive long enough to be selected for the Emperor's elite guard. She quickly draws the ire of the Primus, the powerful figure charged with protecting the Emperor. But the vampire under the armor is the last person Arvel expects to encounter in the Emperor's court. With her brother's lives in the balance, Arvel has no choice but to ally with the man who once shattered her heart, and with the Emperor's sadistic son, Rorik, two vampires whose motives are impossible to pin down. Rorik holds the key to understanding the powers Arvel is developing, abilities that would put a price on her head if discovered by the Emperor. To survive at the arena and complete her mission, Arvel must get to the bottom of a conspiracy that will change everything she thought she knew about herself and the two vampires who are deeply entwined with her destiny. So, We Who Will Die is essentially a gladiator-style romance with magic and vampires. We are in this world where Arvel is our main character, and she is living in a place called Thorn, and it's a bit of a seedy place. The vampires hold most of the power. However, there are physical powers at play here by some humans who are skilled enough, and those humans who have power are marked across their forehead with the the strength of their power is marked bronze, silver, gold, and it's across their forehead. In my mind, I was picturing kind of like a laurel. Again, we are in this kind of gladiator style world here, and so Arvel, she doesn't have the strongest mark across her forehead. But she is a well-known fighter. She has a past of being in these trials. Even though she's won, she's lost some pretty significant things in these trials. And so she is essentially a bodyguard of sorts, somebody who is just trying to get by and do whatever she can as an ex-trained fighter to have enough money for her brother. And one of her brothers is really, really sick. And so one day there is a vampire who shows up at her door, and he has bought up all of the medicine that her brother needs. And her brother is essentially dying. Like, he will not live without this medicine. And the vampire says, I will not only give you this medicine for your brother, but I will heal him and he will never be sick again. But all that you have to do is enter these gladiator style arena, these trials, in order to become one of the elite guards of the emperor. However, I am going to do this because you will be the one to kill the emperor. And so she takes this vow to go ahead with this in order to save her brothers. This will be the only thing that will heal her brother. She does not have the resources to take care of him. And there is, now that this vampire has bought up all of the medicine around, there is no other way essentially that she can see for her to get out of this. So she recruits her old teacher, who is the father of her best friend as well. And he essentially agrees to help her in this arena. And so we follow her as she is not only trying to stay alive and to be essentially one of the elite guards so that way she can be close enough to the emperor vampire to kill him, but she also meets and falls in love with or has potentially a past with one of the current guards, and then there is also into the mix the emperor's ruthless vampire son. So you are getting kind of the back and forth there. Definitely a really fun read. Would recommend if you are interested in sort of a good time. That is We Who Will Die. Next, I picked up Once There Were Wolves by Charlotte McConaughey. Here he says, Inti Flynn arrives in Scotland with her twin sister, Aggie, to lead a team of biologists tasked with the reintroduction of 14 gray wolves into the remote highlands. She hopes to heal not only the dying landscape, but Aggie too, unmade by the terrible secrets that drove the sisters out of Alaska. Inti is not the woman she once was, either, changed by the harm she's witnessed, inflicted by humans both on the wild and each other. Yet, as the wolves survive everyone by thriving, Inti begins to let her guard down, even opening herself up to the possibility of love. But when a farmer is found dead, Inti knows where the town will lay blame. Unable to accept her wolves could be responsible, Inti makes a reckless decision to protect them. But if the wolves didn't make the kill, then who did? And what will Inti do when the man she is falling for seems to be the prime suspect? Propulsive and spellbinding, Charlotte McConaughey's Once There Were Wolves is the unforgettable story of a woman desperate to save the creature she loves if she isn't consumed by a wild that was once her refuge. So this is a mystery thriller fiction book. And so we are following this woman, and she is a researcher, and she has brought her sister. Her sister has some sort of, it's explained later on, but some sort of illness, right? They're twin sisters, but Inti is really caring for Aggie. And throughout the novel, we are finding out what happened to Aggie, what made her this way, through flashbacks. So she is essentially, she dives into her work of restoring wolves. She very much believes in these creatures, and, you know, like her father, who was impacted by logging, she is really trying to reintroduce wolves, these unappreciated kind of animals that are made villains of, and saying like, hey, they have a purpose, and we do need to reintroduce them, and they are not as dangerous as they seem. And so when one day, one of the most vocal people in Scotland, in this small town in the Highlands, most vocal people against the wolves, is found dead, it becomes very clear that the townspeople will think it was a wolf, and so she decides that she is going to do what she can to protect them, to uncover who it was who did this, because she refuses to believe it could be a wolf. So for me, this didn't hit quite as hard as maybe I was hoping. I love the descriptions. The language that's used is beautiful. You really feel like you are on the Scottish Highlands. There's a lot of beautiful descriptions of the landscape, of the wilderness, as well to some of the descriptions of her life in Alaska. Absolutely beautiful. But when it comes to the actual plot and the stories, it didn't hit me personally as hard as I would have liked. I didn't think that the twist was all that much of a twist, so to say. I thought it was pretty obvious, but for those people who are interested in a mystery, interested in a bit of a thriller, and dealing with not only the wilderness but also just family dynamics and people dynamics, and some of the atrocities that humans are capable of, and maybe the wolves are not the monsters in the story, it's definitely a great place to start. So Once There Were Wolves by Charlotte McConaughey. All right, and now we have come to my plain reads. So one, I definitely like a good fluffy fantasy love story. I eat it up. I definitely want to read some of those on the plane. So my first book here is something that I picked up for my Kindle for the plane ride, and I was not quite a fan. I am never going to be somebody who discounts romantasy. There are some people who are like, oh, it's all just trash and garbage. No, that's absolutely not true. And huge props to the author, because I do not have a book. I have not created anything. This book, just for me, it didn't do what I was hoping it would do, and it wasn't quite my favorite. So the book here is Empire of Flames and Thorns by Marion Blackwood. I know that there is a lid for every pot, and for somebody, this book is going to be perfect. Unfortunately, it just wasn't quite me. So, trapped in the Sealy Court by a forest of thorns, Selena Hale lives at the mercy of the dragon shifters. Her only chance to gain her freedom is by entering the Atonement Trials, a deadly competition that pits Fey magic users against each other. Only 3 people can win, and Selena intends to be one of them. There's only one problem. Draven Riot, the ruthless commander of the Dragon Shifter army, is determined to make her lose. He symbolizes everything that she hates, and if he finds out that she is also a member of the secret Fey rebellion, he will not only mess with her chances to win, he will kill her. But the more time she spends with him, the more she finds herself inexplicably drawn to him. And nothing is more dangerous in a lethal trial than a distracted heart, especially one that beats for the enemy. So here we have a fantasy romance, we have Fae, we've got dragon shifters, and just for me, it didn't quite do it. I thought it was very, very repetitive. Again, I don't have a book. I am not an author. I do not have anything out there in the world. So kudos to you, Marion Blackwood, for having something out there. Not only did you publish this book, but this is a series. I can see why it hits for some people. I can see why people really liked it. Again, just for me, it was not the story at the time. The thing that for me it didn't quite work was we are in the mind of Selena, and Selena, she has this emotion magic, right? So Selena is an outcast in her world, because nobody can trust her. We have a lot of people who have control of elements or physicality. We have people who can control plants or who can work with poisons, things of that nature. And then we have Selena, who she can essentially, she can't create emotions, but she can manipulate the emotions that are already present within those that she's interacting with. And one thing that's pretty cool is she visualizes it like a spark, right? So she can't create anything, but if there's already that emotion there, she sees it like a growing spark, like a color. And so she can either fan it or dampen it. And then she can also reach out in her mind and she can sense if there are people having emotions around her. So even if she can't quite see somebody, if somebody is very common to have a certain kind of emotion, she can know where they are in that realm too. And Selena is not very trusted because everyone knows that she has this emotion magic, but nobody really knows how it works, and she kind of keeps it close to her chest. And so people don't know if they can trust her. They think that she is creating emotions even though she can't. She can only manipulate what is already there and kind of fan or dampen. And she also, it's very clear when where anyone is using their power because their eyes glow. And so people are thinking that they can't trust her, that they can't be around her. And she's like, I'm not manipulating your emotions at all. My eyes aren't glowing. This is all you, babe. And so she essentially wants to be part of these trials because there are going to be 3 people who can win. And if she is one of the 3 winners, she gets to leave the Seelie court, which is being occupied by these dragon shifters. Just wants to get out. She does not like living here. And so she will do anything she can to win these trials. And when she enters them, one of the he's the most deadly commander in the army because of course he is, and he's just the most powerful man because of course he is, named Draven, which, all right, again, I don't have a book. It's fantastic that this world exists in someone's mind. It will be for someone, but yeah, it falls in love with this man, and I will say it does have some very good romance scenes. Yeah, she does the flirty banter really well. There's that back and forth, push and pull, your typical enemies to lovers arc there. So I will say that she does that very well. And so there are some very good things in this book. I know a lot of people really, really like it. And if this is for you, amazing. But yeah, that is Empire of Flame and Thorns. Might not be for me right now, but it's very popular. It has quite a few, if you're on Goodreads, it has a 4.03 rating. So I think I was in the minority. I know a lot of people really, really liked this book. So not going to yuck your yum, fantastic. But just that was Empire of Flame and Thorns, and was not quite for me. But after that, since it was already on my Kindle, I, on that same day, that same travel trip to the flight to Oregon, I read both 1 and 2 of the Once Upon a Broken Heart series by Stephanie Garber. These are rereads for me. And so I knew it was going to do exactly what I wanted. Again, people are pretty divided about the Once Upon a Broken Heart series. For me, I loved it. I loved it when I first read it. I really love it now. I think it's a great plain read. I understand people's criticisms of it, 100%. Just kind of like how that last book was not maybe for me, but it's for somebody out there. This book series, I know a lot of people who don't like it, but it's for me. Stephanie wrote it and said, here you go, and I will eat it up every time. So let me hop on into the summary here for this. I'll just read the first book because I don't want to spoil. There are 3 of them. I only read 2 on the plane. Again, this is a reread. Just reading the summary of the first one because I don't want to spoil the second one. The second one is my favorite. The second one is so good. Even if you don't like the first one, read it for the second one. I absolutely love the second book. But let me hop into the summary of the first book here. It says, for as long as she can remember, Evangeline Fox has believed in true love and happy endings, until she learns that the love of her life will marry another. Desperate to stop the wedding and to heal her wounded heart, Evangeline strikes a deal with the charismatic but wicked Prince of Hearts. In exchange for his help, he asks for 3 kisses, to be given at the time and place of his choosing. But after Evangeline's first promised kiss, she learns that bargaining with an immortal is dangerous game, and that the Prince of Hearts wants more from her than she's pledged. He has plans for Evangeline, plans that will either end in the greatest happily ever after or the most exquisite tragedy. So, Once Upon a Broken Heart, we are following this young girl named Evangeline Fox. And Evangeline is the most naive main character that I think I've read in a long time in a book series. She believes in fairy tales, she believes in true love, happily ever after. All of that good stuff. She's been raised on these tales by her mother, who is from the great magnificent north, raised on these tales and of magic and whimsy, and she fully believes them. So of course, when she finds out that the man that she's in love with, her one true love, is engaged to be married to her stepsister, she is completely blindsided. And so she goes to Jax, the Prince of Hearts, and he is what's known as a fate. And so the fates are essentially these godlike deities. There are many of them. You are introduced to so many in this book series. And he says, yeah, I will absolutely stop this wedding. All you have to do is you owe me 3 kisses. I will choose who they go to. I will choose when, where, how, and you owe me, essentially. And so she says, okay, absolutely. Yes, please stop this wedding. And so immediately he says, okay, bet. And so he turns the entire wedding to stone. The bride, the groom, so her stepsister, her true love, everyone who's there at the wedding. And she is like, absolutely not. That's not what I wanted. I wanted you to stop the wedding, but I didn't want anyone to get hurt. And he says, sorry, I stopped the wedding. I did what you wanted. And so she decides to take their place. And you are essentially following the story from there, as now she is caught in this predicament where she is kind of this town hero. And she also owes Jax, the King of Hearts, these 3 kisses. And we find out that as he is starting to tell her how and when and where she will be using them, that he has plans up his sleeves that she is not privy to, that she does not want to be a part of. So she's caught in this big whirlwind adventure there. Again, it's 3 books. I read books 1 and 2 on the plane. That is Once Upon a Broken Heart series by Stephanie Garber. The next book I read was The Bean Trees by Barbara Kingsolver. I picked this book up when I was in Oregon. My sister-in-law, she took me and my husband to this amazing used bookstore that's in her small town. And so we went and we both picked out a couple books while we were there. And so this is one of the books that I picked up while I was there. I have not read a Barbara Kingsolver. I know that everyone's talking about Demon Copperhead that just came out. And I know that Poisonwood Bible is a lot of people's like God tier reads, required reading, will be a modern classic. And so I hadn't read any of hers. And when this was available at the used bookstore that I was at, I decided to pick it up. And so I read this one while I was on my vacation. Clear-eyed and spirited, Taylor Greer grew up poor in rural Kentucky with the goals of avoiding pregnancy and getting away. When she heads west with high hopes in a barely functional car, she meets the human condition head on. By the time Taylor arrives in Tucson, Arizona, she has acquired a completely unexpected child, a 3-year-old American Indian girl named Turtle, and must somehow come to terms with both motherhood and the necessity for putting down roots. Hers is a story about love and friendship, abandonment and belonging, and the discovery of surprising resources in apparently empty places. So this is contemporary lit fic. It was written quite a while ago. It was written in 1988, so it's contemporary for 1988. And we are following Taylor as she, essentially you're following her life. She grows up in this nothing town in Kentucky, and she is seeing the things around her. She's working in a hospital, just doing administrative duties, and she's seeing things around her, and she knows what her life will be if she stays in this small Kentucky town, and she wants so much more from that. So she, when she's old enough, she gets in her car and decides that she is going to essentially drive until the wheels fall off. And so she drives from Kentucky through Oklahoma, where when she's in Oklahoma, she is given a child. There is a Native American woman who puts this young, it looks like a 3-year-old child in the back of her car. and refuses to let Taylor give the child back. And so she now has to deal with when her car eventually breaks down. She is in Tucson, Arizona, and so she is forced to essentially grow up. She's a new mom now, and she is coming to terms with her new life in Tucson, Arizona, and follows the tale of her and her roommate, as well as some of her neighbors, as they are dealing with the trials and things of that nature of all of them going on in their lives. It's definitely a slice of life. It absolutely is a story about what it means to be human, what it means to be a good person, dealing with both motherhood and immigration issues, and poverty, and what it's like to grow up in some of these small towns. And so it was a good read. It was one of those books where you are not really reading it for the plot, you're reading it for the characters. It's definitely a character-driven story. And Barbara does really well of kind of writing these characters. You feel like you get to know them immediately, and they feel like real people. So that is The Bean Trees by Barbara Kingsolver. My next read is another book that I picked up at the used bookstore, and this was my plane ride home read. It is called The Hanging City by Charlie N. Holmberg. We have another fantasy romance story. Are we seeing a theme here for me, especially when I am on a plane? So this is a romantasy. It's been out for a few years, but I haven't heard of it. I picked it up because the back cover at the used bookstore sounded like a absolute piece of me, and it got the job done. It wasn't the best thing I've ever read in the world. Certainly was not the worst thing I read in the world. And I thought it was a really enjoyable. It got what I needed to do out of it for the plane ride home. It was a good distraction for heading back from Oregon to Arizona. 7 years on the run from her abusive father, and with no hope of sanctuary among the dwindling pockets of human civilization, Lark is out of options. Her only leverage is a cursed power. She can thrust fear into others, leaving all threats fleeing in terror. It's a mean of survival, and as she searches for a place to call home. If the campfire myths of her childhood are true, Lark's sole chance for refuge could lie in Kagmar, the city of trolls, a brutal species and the sworn enemies of humanity. Valuing combat prowess, the Troll High Council is intrigued. Lark could be much more useful than the low-caste humans who merely labor in Kagmar. Her gift makes her invaluable as a monster slayer to fight off the unspeakable creatures that torment the Troll's hanging city, suspended from a bridge over an endless dark canyon. Lark will do anything to make Kagmar her home, but her new role comes with a caveat. Use her power against a troll and she'll be killed. Her loyalty is quickly put to the test when she draws the hatred of a powerful troll who loathes humankind. Still, she finds unexpected friendship in the city and, even more surprisingly, love. But if everything else doesn't undo her, being caught in the arms of a troll surely will. Now in the fight of her life, Lark has a lot to learn about her past, about trust and hope when all seems lost, and above all, about the extraordinary power of fear itself. So in this book, we are following Lark, and she is essentially she's been on the run from her abusive father for a while now. Her father takes advantage of this power that she has where she can thrust fear into others. And so he essentially uses her from a very young age in order to gain power. He uses her like a weapon. He keeps it secret, like what her power is, but essentially he uses her to manipulate and torture in order for him to gain power. And she said enough is enough. So she is on the run from him, and she knows that he is coming after her. Her father wants nothing more than power, and so she knows that there is nothing else for her if she needs to keep on the run. And as she goes from town to town, we are in kind of a dystopian type world where it is very much a desert wasteland. There's not a lot of resources, and a lot of these towns are struggling. And so at first she seems to find refuge in any town she comes to, and her whole goal is to build a family, build a home, build a group of people who love her. And so She goes from town to town, but eventually they all find out about her powers. And so she has decided that she is run out of all the known towns that she knows of in humanity. And so she is seeking refuge in this town that is the land of the trolls. These people are kind of the enemies of humanity. Trolls, they live under this they live in this city that hangs over this chasm, and they are running out of space. And so as the city is delving and being built more and more, space is very limited. They are delving deeper and deeper into this canyon, and there are creatures that are in the canyon. And so when it is revealed that she has this power to make things fear her, the trolls think that they can use her, right? Right now, the only humans who are selected to be in this city, who have tried for refuge here, they're treated like bottom of the barrel, lowest of the lowest class of citizens. They're all laborers. They are very, very mistreated. They are, and in terms of this troll world, they are subhuman. But they have this, they have her, so she has this power, and they're like, we can use her. And not only can we use her, but she will not be in the same caste as a human. The only caveat there is that now that they know that she has this power, she must absolutely never use her power on the trolls, or they will kill her. And so that is The Hanging City by Charlie and Holmberg. Again, this book, it did what it needed to do. Okay, my next book that I picked up is Shark Heart by Emily Haybeck. This book was fantastic. I will just say that up front. This book was fantastic. It made me sob. I was crying. It takes a lot for a book to get me, and this one got me. I was sitting in bed reading it and burst into tears. And my husband was like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." So this book I absolutely loved. It was a fantastic book. Everyone should read it. It's a little bit of a weird book, but get into it. It's really, really good. So for the summary of Shark Heart, says, for Lewis and Wren, their first year of marriage is also their last. A few weeks after their wedding, Lewis receives a rare diagnosis. He will retain most of his consciousness, memories, and intellect, but his physical body will transform into that of a great white shark. As Lewis develops the features and impulses of one of the most predatory creatures in the ocean, his complicated artist's heart struggles to make peace with his unfulfilled dreams. At first, Wren internally resists her husband's fate. Is there a way for them to be together after Lewis fully transforms? Then a glimpse of Lewis's developing carnivorous nature activates long repressed memories for Wren, whose story vacillates between her childhood living on a houseboat in Oklahoma, her time with a college ex-girlfriend, and her unusual friendship with a woman pregnant with twin birds. Woven throughout this daring novel is the story of Wren's mother, Angela, who becomes pregnant with Wren at 15 and in an abusive relationship amidst her parents' crumbling marriage. In the present, all of Wren's grief eventually collides, and she meets her fears with surrender, choosing to love fully now. An emotional exploration of motherhood, marriage, transformation, and letting go, Shark Heart is an unforgettable love story about mothers and daughters, husbands and wives, animals and people, all while examining what it truly means to be human. So in this world, again, you just got to kind of go with it. It is essentially modern day. Everything is the same except for one diagnosis that is fairly common, at least in this book. It's something that people are getting diagnosed with a lot, is transforming into an animal. Some people have the diagnosis, and the transformation is fairly quick. And some people, it takes years to fully transform into the animal. All that you know is it is incurable. There's no cure for it. There's nothing you can do. You are slowly becoming the animal that you're becoming. And so we are following Ren as she is dealing with this difficult diagnosis for her husband. She never thought that she would find love. She loves control. She's a perfectionist. And so falling in love was very hard for her with her perfectionist controlling tendencies. And now almost immediately after finding this man who is, she believes, her soulmate, he is suddenly going to be a shark. And so they have under a year left together, and it's them coming to terms with that diagnosis, with his new life. And as well, you are going through flashbacks of Ren's life, Ren's mother's life, the friendship with this woman who found out that she is carrying twin birds, and what that's going to be like for her to give birth to these children, when maybe she didn't even want children. And now it's going to have these insane life consequences for it. Like, it's going to change her life forever. And so this is just a really, really, really beautiful book. It's very strange. You just need to go with it. You just need to accept it. It made me cry. I will say it's a short book. It's a book that is told through not only prose but also plays. So Louis, Ren's husband, he is an actor. He's a playwright. He works in a high school teaching acting after never quite making it on the big stage in New York City. And so it's written not only like a book, but also like a play. There is poetry. There's really short lines. Beautiful, beautiful writing. Beautiful, beautiful lines. The emotional punch happens a little early, in my opinion. I was sobbing after the first 100 pages, and then afterwards, nothing beyond that big scene on the beach, for those of us who've read it. After that big scene on the beach, nothing quite hit that emotional punch. So I do feel like Emily could have maybe kept hold of that for a little bit longer. But honestly, beautiful book. Fantastic. Screaming, crying, throwing up. Definitely read this book. Emily Habeck. This is a debut novel. Absolutely wild. Way to ruin it for the rest of us. Emily decides to come out here and put this as her first book, and then just say, sorry, I killed it all. Absolutely fantastic. Definitely read Shark Heart. The next book that I picked up was called Kaikeyi by Vaishnavi Patel. This book, I am hoping I am pronouncing the words correctly. This book is a retelling of a character within the Ramayana. So we are following Kaikeyi as she is going through her story. It is a retelling. I will say I do not know much about the Ramayana beyond having to read. I don't even know if I read the whole thing. I think I read excerpts in college for one of my classics class where we were reading myths, classical mythologies. And so I don't even think I read the whole thing. I think I read excerpts of the frame story, but decided to pick this one up mostly because I thought the cover was beautiful. I am one of those people who will pick up a book based on the cover. The cover was beautiful, and the summary really pulled me in, so that is why I picked it up. So I will go ahead and get into the summary to see if you, like me, wanted to go into this story blind. And I really enjoyed it. So the summary here is, so begins Kaikeyi's story. The only daughter in the kingdom of Kaikeyi, she's raised on tales about the might and benevolence of the gods, how they churned the vast ocean to obtain the nectar of immortality, how they vanquish evil and ensure the land of Bharat prospers, and how they offer powerful boons to the worthy. Yet she watches as her father unceremoniously banishes her mother, listens as her own worth is reduced to a marriage alliance she can secure, and when she calls upon the gods for help, they never seem to hear. Desperate for independence, she turns to the text she once read with her mother and discovers a magic that is hers alone. With it, Kaikeyi transforms herself from an overlooked princess into a warrior, diplomat, and most favored queen. But as the evil from her childhood stories threatened the cosmic order, the path she has forged clashes with the destiny the gods have chosen for her family, and Kaikeyi must decide if resistance is worth the destruction it will wreak, and what legacy she intends to leave behind. The unforgettable tale of a woman determined to leave her mark in the world of gods and men dictate the shape of things to come. Patel's mesmerizing debut shines a golden light on the vilified queen from the Ramayana. So, in the Ramayana, Kaikeyi is essentially the bad guy. She is the one who banishes Rama. and sets forth the entirety of the tale. So in the Ramayana, she is the one of the villains, right? There's more than just her. It's about the battle of good and evil, but she is essentially the catalyst when she banishes him for 10 years and in favor of her son being the son who is on the throne. And thus begins the Ramayana. And so this is her redemption story of maybe she's not the villain that the story seems. Maybe she is just a woman who is doing her best in a world that seems pitted against her. Hello. In this story, we are following her as she is growing up. She is the only daughter in a family of brothers. Her twin brother is going to be king of her country, and she is essentially the marriage pawn. No more so, or more so than ever when her mother is banished. She never gets an explanation for why her mother is banished. Her father kicks her out. And so now she has to fill the role of essentially acting queen, learning queen. She takes it upon herself to learn as well physical fighting and diplomacy and things that her brother is learning, but she is really out of the norm for this. She is in a world where she's just a woman. She should just be married. She essentially is trying to come with her own power, and she reads these texts when she is a child. And in these texts, it allows her to visualize these threads of that connect her, these bonds between her and those around her in the world. And so anyone who she is connected to, she can visualize the thread that links her to them, and she can essentially slightly manipulate them, manipulate those threads in order to either strengthen them, loosen them, convince people to do her bidding. But she learns very early on that if she manipulates the threads too much, then the threads will snap. And so when she is married off into this neighboring country that is more powerful than her country, but she ultimately does not want to go. She does not want to leave this family that she's built, this influence that she's wrought over having these threads of power. She doesn't want to leave that, but she's forced to. And so when she comes to this new country, she is starting from ground zero. She's the third wife of a childless man who has, two other women already. She knows that she's going to have no power. She's much younger than or not much younger, but she's younger than these two more experienced queens. And so it is about her trying to rebuild these threads of power, not only just for herself, but also for the other women in her life. And it's this big story about balancing tradition and progress, what it means to try to forge a new life for herself, forge power for herself when she feels powerless, and also for the women around her when she's seeing all of these women who are in powerless situations like her, and what role tradition has to play with that, what role religion has to play with that. It's a very good story about the pros and cons of both, right? Where, it's important to have progress, but it's also equally important to look back on tradition and take from tradition what should be taken, while also finding ways forward that benefit the many and not just the few who already benefit in the system. And so that is Kaikeyi by Vaishnavi Patel. I thought it was really well done. I thought it was beautiful. The next book I read, this is a new book. This is Before I Forget by Tori Hedwood Hohen. This is the first book that I have read by Tori Hedwood Hohen. Another one that I picked up with the cover, it has a loon on the cover. I love loons. I saw a loon. I read the back of the book. I said, absolutely, yes, let's read it. I really liked it. I can see how this book may be tailored for people who are in a very similar life stage to myself. It is a book about a quarter life crisis. It's about a girl who feels stuck and her trying to move forward in her life when her father has a diagnosis of Alzheimer's, and the older sister who has been caring for him can no longer care for him because of a opportunity that takes her to Sweden. The back of the book says, a funny, heartfelt, late coming-of-age story that examines the role of memory in holding us back and in moving us forward. Call it inertia, call it a quarter-life crisis, call it whatever you want. Cricket Campbell is stuck. Despite working at a zeitgeisty wellness company, the 26-year-old feels anything but well. Still adrift after a tragedy that upended her world a decade ago, she has entered early adulthood under the weight of a new burden, her father's Alzheimer's diagnosis. When Cricket's older sister Nina announced that it's time to move Arthur from his beloved Adirondack lake house into a memory care facility, Cricket has a better idea. In returning home to become her father's caretaker, she hopes to repair their strained relationship and shake herself out of the permafunk. But even deeply familiar places can hold surprises. As Cricket settles back into the family house at Catwood Pond, a place she once loved but hasn't visited since she was a teenager, she discovers that her father possesses a rare gift. As he loses his grasp of the past, he is increasingly able to predict the future. Before long, Arthur cements his reputation as an unlikely oracle, but for Cricket, believing in her father's prophecies might also mean facing the most painful parts of her history. As she begins to remember who she once was, she uncovers a vital truth. The path forward often starts by going back. This is essentially a book where you don't know what's real, what's not. It's magical realism, one of my absolute favorite genres, where it's mostly real life, but suddenly her father, who is battling Alzheimer's and can't really remember really important things as his memory is declining further and further, suddenly has this uncanny ability to predict the future. So we have Cricket, who she feels stuck in a rut. She has never gotten over this big traumatic thing that happened to her in high school. And now she's 26 years old. She feels stuck, and she is forced to, or she decides to make a change and move in with her father to be his full-time carer. I thought it was really well done. I will say in the beginning, it's written in a way that I think that there are certain writing styles that are that are fine in like Wattpad, fine in fan fiction, Archive of Our Own. For me, sometimes when a writing style, it's almost quippy. Something about it, I know a lot of people really like it. For me, I prefer lyrical prose, honestly, verging on purple prose. I like it when things are lush and descriptive. And so when we've got these kind of funny, almost like internet speak books, for me, those are hard to get through. But I would say definitely, if that's not your cup of tea, still keep going. The story is really pretty. And after a while, you kind of just get used to that. So if that is something that's going to irritate you, maybe this isn't the book for you. But it's definitely, if you are somebody who is, in your mid-20s and you feel stuck in some way, this book is definitely, something that I think will be timely for you. It might not be the book for everybody, but if you're in your mid-20s, you can get through internet speak, and you're interested in a book about kind of coming to terms with the grief and the humor that can come with a large diagnosis like Alzheimer's. I definitely thought it was handled very well. That is Before I Forget by Tori Henwood Hohen. All right, we're almost done. Like I said, this is a large reading month. They will not be this long most months, but next I read 56 Days. This is a thriller story that I picked up when I was in Oregon. We stopped at this antique store, and they had for sale these blind date with a book where it was wrapped up and it said Mystery Ireland. And I said, sure, for $10, I will pick up Mystery in Ireland, absolutely, at this small little antique store. So I picked up the Mystery Ireland package, and within was 56 Days by Catherine Ryan Howard. So 56 Days, let me go ahead and read the back for you because it does a pretty good job of explaining what it's about. It says, no one knew they'd moved in together. Now one of them is dead. Could this be the perfect murder? 56 days ago, Kiara and Oliver meet in a supermarket queue in Dublin in the same week COVID-19 reaches Irish shores. 35 days ago. When lockdown threatens to keep them apart, Oliver suggests that Kiara move in with him. She sees a unique opportunity for a relationship to flourish without the pressure of scrutiny of family and friends. He sees it as an opportunity to hide who and what he really is. Today, detectives arrive at Oliver's apartment to discover a decomposing body inside. Will they be able to determine what really happened, or has lockdown provided someone with the opportunity to commit the perfect crime? It's a thriller, mystery, novel, suspense, crime thriller. For me, it wasn't my favorite. I thought one thing that Catherine does really, really well, she absolutely writes that the first flirting moments where you're just nervous and excited and you're overthinking it and oh my gosh, am I scaring this person away? You're in both their heads. You're in both Kiara and Oliver's heads of what is the right thing to say? What is this person's motives? Do I like this person? Do they like me? Very much that kind of psychoanalysis that happens where in your every text exchange, every word that's spoken, in this new relationship that is kind of thrust together suddenly due to this COVID-19 lockdowns, and they've moved in together and they haven't told anybody. So they're going through this relationship and do I like him? Does he like me? And now, oh my gosh, we're living together and overthinking it. She does that really, really well. For me with it, one of the things that I didn't quite enjoy about it personally, this was a me thing, was with the twists, you are in both these people's heads, right? You are following very closely. You are in their mind. Kiara and Oliver, you know everything about Kiara and what her motives are. You know everything about Oliver and his motives. And then you are solving this murder, or you're going back between the past and present day to find this murder about who was it that was murdered? Why did it happen? Who are they really? And for me, just with some of the twists, it ended up retconning some of the things that you learned in the first few pages, where you are in these people's heads and you are following along with them. And then there is a twist and it's like, wait, we should have known already what the motive was because we were in their head and we were told one thing and then it ended up being something different. So if that is something that you are okay with, definitely pick this up. I will say I read this in one sitting. It was a very quick read. It was a very good read. I was interested. Catherine had me interested in this. She had me going. I was reading it. I will say I didn't get the twist 100% correct. So good for her on that as well. Where I had some inklings and some of them ended up being true. And some of them I was not correct with how I thought it was going to go. So that is fantastic. But for me, it felt like there were too many twists and some of them ended up undoing some of the things that were in the first half of the book, and maybe I need to reread it and it's not quite as dramatic as I thought it was, but when I was reading it, again, I had done it in one sitting. It took me a couple hours to finish this book, and I was like, wait, 2 hours ago, 3 hours ago, it was this, and now suddenly it's this. So for me, wasn't quite my favorite. If you want a thriller, though, absolutely pick it up if you are interested in a thriller about COVID-19, about lockdown. Some people might think it's a little too soon. I have seen some of that where this book came out in 2021, which I think if I had to read it in 2021, it would be too soon for me. Now at the end of 2025 going into 2026, I think it's something that's fine. But again, just kind of use your own discretion if that's something that you want to read about or if that's something that you don't want as the backdrop of your story. But that is 56 Days by Catherine Ryan Howard. All right, and then the last book that I have read in December is The Devils by Joe Abercrombie. Absolutely love this book. This book is wild. This book is chaotic. This book is hilarious. It is my very first Joe Abercrombie. I have not read him. I have been recommended him many, many times. And actually, I was talking with my friend Ariana, and she heard I was picking this book up, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, I have had this on my shelf forever. It totally seems like something that you would read." And I was like, "Yes, absolutely. It totally does seem like something I would read. It seems like something you would read too." And she goes, "Yes, absolutely." So The Devils by Joe Abercrombie. It's a great read. It is wacky. I was describing it to my husband. It is the most chaotic Dungeons and Dragons campaign that you've ever been on, where all of the characters didn't talk about who they were being or any sort of character building. There was no session zero, just ground running. yes-anding your way through the most chaotic storyline that has ever been chaotic storylined. And I thought it was great. It's definitely crude humor. It's definitely not going to be for everybody. It was wild and wacky, and man, I had a great time. So for the summary, which honestly, I don't know if the summary even does it justice, at least for here, but the summary here we have: Brother Diaz has been summoned to the sacred city, where he is certain a commendation and a grand holy assignment awaits him. But his new flock is made up of unrepentant murderers, practitioners of ghastly magic, and outright monsters, and the mission he is tasked with will require bloody measures from them all in order to achieve its righteous ends. Elves lurk at our borders and hunger for our flesh, while greedy princes care for nothing but their own ambitions and comforts. With a hellish journey before him, it's a good thing Brother Diaz has the devils on his side. So in this story, we are in this alternate reality, historical fiction, loosely based by anything that has ever happened in Western history when it comes to like Western European history, where it's this vague medieval Europe that is ravaged by plague and by these elf creatures who are essentially eating humanity alive. We have Brother Diaz, and he is a monk, and he is being given a new congregation. And so he is expecting that when he goes, the Pope herself, who is this child Pope, is going to bless him for everything. And what he gets is he is told, yep, you have this crew. They are being bound to you. There is magic binding them together. And here is your quest. There has been found this young girl. She is the heir to the throne in Troy. Her parents were killed. She is the rightful heir to the throne. And with the fall of Troy, there was this great schism in the church between East and West. And we here on the West, we are backing Alex. She is the rightful queen. Your job is to get her safely back on the throne. So all can be right with the world, and the Western church can win over the Eastern church. And the people who are going to be helping you bring this child who, oh, by the way, I guess child is a strong teenage girl, young adult, who, oh, by the way, doesn't know that she was a princess, long lost princess. She has been a thief her whole life. And so she is just going to run with it, because absolutely, when you are a thief and you are fighting for your next meal and you owe these crazy guys money, and some guy says, actually, you are a princess, you are going to be protected, here's some fancy dresses, all we got to do is get you to Troy, you're going to say, yeah, absolutely. And so Brother Diaz is this monk. He is very devout. He is very much cautious. He's kind of your worrywart. He always has these anxieties, and he is in this found family, this group. We've got Jacob, who is one of the Knights Templar, and he just will not die. He has died a million times. He cannot die. He has been in every single battle. He has fought in every single war. Doesn't matter how many times you kill him. He's alive. He's in pain constantly because he's died so many times, but he is unkillable. So you've got the unkillable Jacob. You've got Baptiste, who is this person who everyone knows, this person who has just done everything in their life. And it's like, there's no way that you've done that. And she's like, yep, I absolutely have. She has been a pirate. She is a doctor. She has every single skill imaginable, every single thing that comes up. She knows everybody. She's friends with everybody. She's done everything. And you're just like, what on earth is going on? So you got this kind of jack of all trades Baptiste, and her whole running joke is, I should have retired. I shouldn't have taken this gig. Why on earth did I take this gig? I should have retired. And she's doing that pretty much mid-battle. You've got Sunny, who is an elf. So she is one of this race of people that is devouring humanity. Everyone hates her, and she grew up in a circus as kind of the villain in the circus, the people that, the elf that people are going to be throwing food at. And all Sunny wants is to be loved. That's it. I just want to wrap Sunny in a little hug. And her whole thing is she can if she holds her breath, she's invisible. So she can't hold her breath forever, but it comes in handy in this book quite often, where she holds her breath and is just invisible. Next up in our ragtag group, we have Balthazar. He is a necromancer and he is a magician. Thank you very much. He is not a sorcerer. He is not anything else. He is a magician. Put respect on his very, very long name. And his whole thing is no matter what, he is going to animate dead. He will rely on others to kill them, and then he will reanimate them. It always smells terrible. He does not care. He's very wordy. He's kind of annoying, and I love him. Next up, we have Viga, and she is this werewolf killing machine. She is this berserker Viking, larger than life, the ADHD personified, honestly, to a point that's probably insulting to those with ADHD. She cannot string two thoughts together. She will go after whatever is in her line of sight first. She is constantly just thinking, thinking about sex, that's it. That's all she wants. Whatever is in front of her, that's what she's going for. Basic human instincts, basic desires. She's the person who, I have to use the bathroom. I'm just going to drop chow right here. She does not care about propriety. She does not care about anything, but she is an absolute killing machine. She is their secret weapon. Whenever they need her, she can just transform into the wolf, and she, though she's crass, though she's crude, she is their most overpowered character who just takes everybody out. And then last is probably one of my favorites besides Sunny is Baron Rickard, and he is a vampire, and he is always talking about his wife's dumplings. His wife has these dumplings, and he's obsessed with his wife, and he is very prim and proper, and he knows all about etiquette. And he always talks about a few things. It's the proper way to behave, how much he loves his wife, and his wife's dumplings. And I love him. He's fantastic. He is just a gem of a character. And so we are following this ragtag group as they are trying to go throughout Europe and take Alex back to the throne. And it's hilarious. It's one of those books where you almost can't make it into a movie without excessive amounts of narration, where you are ending a scene and somebody's like, oh my gosh, I really hope that Sunny sees a way out of this. And then next line is Sunny sees no way in hell out of this. Definitely pick this one up if you are in the mood for kind of a, it's dark. It's definitely dark. It's definitely gory. But if you are into a funny, dark, gory time, definitely pick up The Devils by Joe Abercrombie. Probably one of, between this one and The River Has Roots, those are my two favorites. With how long I've talked about this one, I think that makes it clear. So definitely check that one out. That is The Devils by Joe Abercrombie. And then that is it. Thank you so much. That is everything that I have read in December. It was a lot. I will not be reading 16 books every single month. But I hope that you found something in here that piques your interest. Thank you so much for your time, Ashley. Really appreciate you, and hope to see you again for another video.